Good morning. It's Friday the 4th of January 2019. Hope we're well. So this is what's happening so far that I'm aware of or that I care to talk about. First things first, it's my eldest son's birthday today. So Jack, I love you. You're 10 years old. You're making me feel old. Absolutely terrible behaviour. Good morning, Roy. How you doing? So this is what's happening in the world that I pick up on. I do pick up on a hell of a lot more. This is what I can be asked to talk about. And China's sent a lander to the moon. China sent a lander to the moon. So one small step for man, one even smaller step for a Chinese bloke. But no, I don't mean that, I'm just joking. But they've sent a lander to the moon. And we've got high definition or high res pictures coming back from the moon. And people are starting to question, why does the moon look pink? Why does the moon look pink? It's got a reddish hue to it. Vinny, morning. Liam, morning. Hello, how we doing? How we doing? So yeah, so there's pinkish hue to the surface of the moon, allegedly. We'll say allegedly, it is there. And people are beginning to wonder why. Why is there a pinkish hue to the moon? I'll tell you exactly why. It's because the moon isn't grey. It's been established a while ago. I believe it might have been even 2 years ago. The reason why we don't see the colour on the moon is because it has no atmosphere. And when the sun hits it, it reflects pretty much all of that light back to us. So we just see a massive white rock in the sky. You see, so we don't see the colour on the moon or the colour of the moon dust because we just see light reflecting back. That is what happens there. And a gentleman about 2 years ago devised a very ingenious filter for his camera, and he took a picture of the moon, and we discovered that the moon was all different kinds of grey, red and blue. So that's what colour the moon is. Lots of different colours. We just don't see them because the sun reflects off it. Another reason why everyone's kicking up about this pink on the moon is because the only other pictures we've had really have been from the 60s and 70s on incredibly crappy footage taken from our astronauts. And it depends on whether or not you believe it, you see. So I'm on the fence. I'm 50-50 whether or not we went to the moon or not. I don't know. I'd like to believe it, but what I'd like to believe also is we can't send anyone to the moon now in 2019. What makes you think we had the technology in 1969? In fact, it would have been planned for a couple of years. So from 1967 up to 1969, what makes you think we had the technology to send anyone to the moon back then with something with the computing power of a pocket calculator from 1980s? You know, that's what we're looking at in terms of computing power. You know, those sort of calculations. So I don't believe that in that respect. But hey ho, you know, let's believe it if we want to believe it. It's a wonderful fantasy if we did go to the moon. But we'll see. But there's no decent high definition footage of the moon prior to the Chinese photographs. But we'll wait and see. You know, I'm waiting for all the conspiracy nuts to come out. I really am. All the people that are starting to say, oh well, there's moon bases on the far side of the moon. There's aliens on the far side of the moon. Okay, well, tell you what, when we find them, you will know. Or maybe they were just landed, they put the lander very conveniently in an area where there are no lunarians. There are no creatures on the moon that part. Maybe they landed the lander away from any structures that may or may not be there. I don't know. You see, I'm a funny one when it comes to believing stuff, because I don't believe humans as we are now is the best we've ever been. You see, you've got to think the Earth is some 4 billion years old. You see, dinosaurs have been dead for 64 million years, and yet they existed for millions of years. The gap between different periods of dinosaur is actually greater than the gap between dinosaurs and humans. So you can't tell me that life of some kind didn't evolve over millions and millions and hundreds of millions of years and bugger off. You can't tell me that all these ancient structures you see of ancient past civilizations of human, you know, didn't exist, because they did. They do exist. You know, and who's to say that we didn't evolve back then and go to the moon and leave, and what we have now are just remnants starting over after a cataclysmic event. You know, like the recently discovered crater in Greenland. Oh yeah, 12 to 13,000 years ago, animals went extinct because of an impact. Proven last year. You see, so who's to say that over the last 12 to 13,000 years we haven't had to start all over again? We could have been super advanced. You know, all it takes is 1 million years. Humans haven't even been around to anyone's knowledge for 1 million years. You know, so there we go. So that's what's happening on the moon at the moment. All sorts of wonderful things. And I can't wait to see more pictures from the lunar surface. That'll be quite cool. This is what else is happening. Jeremy Hunt, you know, Jeremy Hunt with a C at the beginning of it, has decreed that he's giving up in regards to Assad in Syria. Now, what do you reckon about Assad? Because yes, he wants to get rid of ISIS, and to a degree he is succeeding, along with the help of rootin' shooting tooting Putin. You see, the problem I have with Assad is that he's allegedly, I can't say whether he has or hasn't, allegedly using chemical weapons against his own people. Now, the powers that be, you know, the British government and other governments, are saying that he's a bad guy. Again, I'm not at liberty to comment on that because I don't know the bloke. You know, there may be reasons for him doing what he's doing, I don't know. You see, I just don't know. But don't you think he looks like the baddie from You Don't Mess With the Zohan? I think if we really wanted to get rid of Assad in Syria, bearing in mind, you know, Jeremy Hunt has said, you know what, he's going to be there for a while. Let's just leave him be. You know, he's got rid of what he wanted to get rid of. Let's just keep a tab on him to make sure he's not blowing his own people up, and he'll be fine. We'll just leave him there. But don't you think he looks like the bad guy from You Don't Mess With the Zohan? You know, I'm just saying, you might be worth a Google. Have a look, type in bad guy, don't mess with Zohan, and then type in Syria Assad, and have a look at the two. They look almost like that. So if you want to get rid of Assad, really, just, you know, get the Zohan. He wants to make your silky smooth. So there's that. We've got a lot of migrants coming over. You see, all I've heard about over the last couple of days is the amount of migrants that are trying to come to the UK on dinghies across the channel. They're coming over in the backs of lorries, you know, on ferries, on the tube. You see the tube, the shuttle, you know, from Calais. And this is what makes me laugh. They're coming over here from France. Bearing in mind, it is European law that, you know, whatever country they land in first in Europe has a responsibility for the welfare of those people before they move on. A responsibility for the welfare, right? And these people are coming across the channel, risking their lives, and they may not be from, they're from somewhere in the Middle East or Africa, wherever they're coming from. They travel a long way to get here. Now, don't get me wrong, I get just as cheesed off as everyone else for the amount of people that are coming in, because it puts a stress on everything. But when you ask them, why did you come here? Because they have to come here from France. It is, you know, the closest A to B. They all say the same thing. France treats us like shit. The Italians treat us like shit. The Germans treat us like shit. So they start thinking, well, let's go to the UK. And it's not because we're a soft touch. I don't believe we're a soft touch at all. Is we're fair, you see. And I'm all about, you know, giving aid, love and care to my fellow human being. I don't mind people coming over and genuinely seeking asylum, you know, but it does become a bit of a security risk. The problem I have is with Europe and the rest of the European Union. I voted out, many of you know this, and I voted out for a very good reason. You see, the reason I have a problem with the European Union and Europe and other European countries right now is because they treat these poor men, women and children like shit. Pepper spray, violence. You know, there's no need for that. I mean, unless they are being abusive to the system over there and they warrant that kind of behaviour, I just don't see why anyone needs to be treated that way. They've left their country. And to be fair, they don't want to have to leave their country of origin. You see, I guarantee if given the option, if everything was fine, they'd probably want to stay exactly where they were. But they've had to leave their country of origin because of fear of death or whatever, or anything else. So they've come here, they've traversed the globe, they've gone through different countries, they've been treated like shit, and they've come to the UK and they've literally had a bit of a godsend, because we don't treat people like shit over here. We do treat people fairly, you see. And I know it's a strain, and a lot of people are saying, well, maybe we should tighten the borders, maybe we should be a lot stricter. My answer to that is no. We should not be stricter. We should not tighten the borders that much. What we should do is put pressure on other European countries to not treat these people like assholes. That way they can stay there. You know, they can claim asylum in any other European country and spread the burden across the rest of Europe, as opposed to everyone coming to the UK and, you know, claiming the streets are paved with gold, because they're not. They're paved with bubblegum and dog shit, and yet we still find it in our hearts to, you know, treat people with a decent level of humanity, even though a lot of people will be like, oh, we don't want people in our country, blah blah blah, you see. And to a degree I agree with that. However, they're still human beings, and especially if they are genuinely claiming asylum, because they are genuinely at risk of, their lives are at risk, and they've had no other option but to come here, because every other European country has literally booed, jeered, kicked them out. What the hell is that? It is shiny. But yeah, so I'm not going to say we need to tighten up our stance on things. The rest of Europe needs to be a bit more understanding and stop treating these people like animals. Stop using pepper spray at these people. Stop punching them and kicking them. You know, because I'm waiting for footage to come out of this. I am. I'm waiting for the video evidence of this disgusting behaviour by the officials in other European countries. You see? So there's that. That's my view on that one. And just swipe that across. I will start reading comments in a minute. I'm just getting what I've got on my chest off. What else now? On to Brexit. on to Brexit. So as I said before, I voted leave. It was nothing to do with immigration, because I actually think legal immigration's a fantastic thing. That really is bugging me. So yeah, so immigration is a good thing. What I voted for was laws and rights being given back to the British people, giving our country back to the British people. You see, I don't like having horrendous amounts of money being given away into a club which doesn't show us any respect. They don't actually care. All we get realistically is, trade deals, which we can actually get elsewhere, either for free or cheaper. And the thing is, everyone's bitching about the deal. The thing is, Remainers moan, right, about, oh, we lost the vote. People who voted leave didn't understand what they were voting for. Yes, we did. We want a deal. We wasn't given a vote on a deal, blah, blah, blah. No, there was a vote. The vote was a referendum, and the vote was lost by the Remainers. And it was won by people like me who voted to leave. And what we voted for was to leave. Leave. It's like having a girlfriend that you don't like anymore. You leave. You leave. You don't say, well, I'm going to leave, but I'm going to make a deal with you. It's like, we can still be friends. And, I'll keep giving you a small amount of money, like every week. A lot smaller, but, we still get to be friends in a special way. No, that doesn't work. You leave, you leave. We voted to leave despite there being no deal. We don't care, because we're British and we're resilient, is what we are. And what will happen is, yes, we will leave with no deal. That is a fact. We've established now that Theresa May's Chequers agreement is shit. It is. I've tried playing devil's advocate on this, I really have. But I can't defend her anymore. The deal is shit. So we are going to end up leaving with no deal. It's not a problem, because we're British, we're resilient. Things will get bad for at least 2 years. Things will be expensive. Things will get cheaper. We'll get more deals elsewhere in the world. Things will balance out. We will adapt because we're British, you see. And another reason why I think it's fantastic that we've left the European Union, because it shows us exactly how pig-headed and arrogant and nasty the European Union actually is. You see, because the second Article 50 was invoked, triggered, if you will, the European Union came out with these words: other European nations are forbidden, listen to these words clearly, are forbidden from making independent trade deals with the UK. You see, so this is the European Union flexing its muscles from Brussels. See what I've done there? And they are literally bullying other European nations that may want to make an independent trade deal with the UK and telling them, well, you can't do it. We don't want to be in the European Union anymore. And this just shows me exactly the reason why. Because the European Union is full of disgusting bureaucrat bullies who just want to line their pockets for the sake of a massive European state. Is what they want. They want a European army, and they want to do away with all sovereignty from every single European country. And then what you'll have is the United States of Europe, and the country you live in, it won't be a country anymore. It will be a European state, all bound by one crap currency, all bound by the same shit laws, is what it will be. It's exactly what it will be. And then you'll end up paid in euros, your wages will go down and your taxes will go up. Why do you think the European Union has hated us ever since 2002? Do you want to know the reason why? It's because we refuse to take on the euro. Since 2002, we've had the pound, and we've kept the pound, and they've hated that. They really have. Even when we voted to leave, and everyone said, oh, the markets have crashed, blah, blah, blah. The pound is still stronger than the euro. And it will always be stronger than the euro. Always. Even when we actually leave, the pound will still be stronger than the euro. Even when cars become £2,000 or £3,000 more expensive because we have to pay our import fee for materials from God knows where, we'll still buy those cars because dealers will have deals on. We'll still buy those cars because we'll just have to save for maybe a year or two more. Life will go on away from the European Union, this I can guarantee. You see, we just won't buy European cars anymore. And that's not the biggest deal in the world, is it? Instead of buying a Volkswagen, what are you going to do? You're going to buy a Nissan. Nissans are imported. What are you going to do? You're going to buy a Hyundai. You know, you're going to buy a Kia. You're going to buy, I can't say Daihatsu anymore, can I? Because they don't exist. You know, you're not going to buy a European car anymore because let's face it, they've been expensive anyway. You know, you're going to buy a car from somewhere else because they're going to be cheaper and more reliable. That's what will happen. So leaving the European Union isn't the be-all and end-all. We need to focus more on us and stop focusing on the bad that may happen. And it will happen, and it will be there for a little while, but it will disappear, it will go. We are like the Borg. British people are like the Borg. We will adapt, we will overcome. You see, this is what we do as British people. And the thing is, our history as British people has been determined by being conquered over and over and over again. We have been conquered, and we've said no, we don't want to be conquered anymore. And for the last hundreds or so years, the last 100 years, we've said no to being conquered. We've won 2 world wars because we didn't want to be conquered, you see. And now, instead of war, you see, we are trying to be conquered by the European Union. And the European Union has won across Europe. That is what's happening. And it is being run by the Germans. And I tell you what now, if my granddad was alive now and he fought for our freedoms, if he was alive and he saw the state of the European Union now and how everything is being run by Brussels, you know, and how everything is, he would be absolutely ashamed and he would have voted leave. Guarantee. So for all of you naysayers out there that are saying, oh yeah, we should remain in the European Union, prove it. Prove it. £12 billion a year. Bearing in mind, £12 billion a year is a drop in the ocean compared to the rest of the budget, but it's a lot. That's a lot of money. £12 billion a year that can go towards our schools, NHS, it can go towards police, it can go towards fire brigades, it can go towards reducing your council tax, it can go to reducing your income tax. Imagine that. Imagine if all of that £12 billion a year went on reducing your income tax. You see, if you earn between £16,000 and £45,000 a year, you could pay 5 or 10% of what you earn. That'd be great for me. That'd be great. You know, and then from 45 up to 60, you pay 20%. From 60 up to 150, you pay 40%. That would be me running the country that way. All of that money you save in council tax would be provided for just from leaving the European Union. We'd get richer. Imagine that. Anyway, I'm Chris. You're watching Chris's Real Talk. Good morning. Happy Friday.